Okay, so we are going to be doing Muscle Mondays, which I think is a really fun and important way to get to know your body. A lot of times, as a massage therapist and stretch therapist, I'm doing sessions and finding out that I'm kind of discovering things about people's bodies that they've been feeling and they notice a sensation, but they don't know how to put words to it. And so I thought doing some little body education for everybody would be a really helpful way to further empower each of us to be, the master of our own bodies. And I wanted to start with the sternocleidomastoid muscle. It's a really important muscle if you suffer from migraines, if you clench your jaw, if you have anxiety. It's a very important muscle in our bodies, and I'm just going to I'm going to explain so that you can get to know a little bit more about how it works and how you can help yourself to alleviate some of the tension that gets caught up in this muscle. So to begin, the sternocleidomastoid is most commonly referred to as the SCM. It's quite a mouthful otherwise, but basically just a quick little overview is the name actually has a purpose, as most things do. This muscle, it originates on the sternum and the clavicle. So, your sternum is right down here, clavicle or this little collarbone muscle. So go ahead and just give that a little feel, and you're gonna feel the ridge of those bones. Mine don't stick out like some people's do, there we go. And then the sternum is that little hard plate that all of our ribs attach to. And the SCM muscle, it runs along the side and it's going to attach just right up behind our ears. If you take 2 or 3 fingers and just bring them to the base of your skull, right behind the ear, you can kind of press and feel in. There's some meaty good stuff that's attaching in there. It might even be tender where you're pressing, and that's a really good indicator right off the bat that you're going to get a lot of relief from the work that we're going to do today. So now that you have an idea of where that muscle runs, right along that, give it a nice little rub, see if you can press into it, and there we go. So basically this muscle, it works to laterally flex our head, rotate to the opposite side. When we're using both at the same time, it's going to flex the neck. And also, it's really interesting when we're doing a forced inhalation, it helps to assist. So if you find yourself doing that, the SCM is getting a little bunched up, it's contracting in that motion as well. Which is why I was saying if you deal with like anxiety, that's a big one where you don't even realize that these little muscles are overworking in a way that they're not necessarily intended to. So now that we've got an idea of where the muscle originates and inserts and what it does, I'm going to take a little lotion, if you have any oil, and just rub that area. And just starting right up here at the insertion, I'm going to do little circles down the side of the neck. And if you're feeling into that muscle, you might even feel some little like tender spots as we work our way down. And we're following what we know about where this muscle inserts. It's going to come right into this clavicle and the manubrium, which is the very top, the head of our sternum. So feeling around in there. Awesome. So for our palpation, what we're going to do is just turn your head to one side. And the side that we've turned away from is actually going to be the muscle that we're palpating. So what I do is I take my thumb and I just press it, and you're just going to grab a hold of that muscle. So it's kind of nice if you get that little grip there, if you need to use all of your hands, but it's just this little rolly coil. It might be really tight, so you can just move your neck around and see when you can get a good grip. And this is really simple, that's all we're gonna do. Little circles, keeping that grip and working your way down. This is a big muscle that gets trigger points in it. So you might be like getting your first grip and it feels crazy, like super intense pressure. I would recommend you hold on to this for about 30 to 90 seconds until that tension starts to alleviate for you. You can work it down. Obviously avoiding the throat, but once you get a grip for this muscle, it's pretty easy to follow it down. If it's really tight, it might be hard to get a grip of it. And you can sort of do whatever it takes to bunch that muscle up so that you can get a better grip. So hopefully you were able to feel that. If not, I'm just going to explain it one more time. So you press your thumb, basically just right down from your ear, and you press back. You're going to feel there's a chunky muscle. If your neck's sticking too far forward, it's going to be tighter, but if you pull it back a little bit, you should be able to get a nice grip. And so we were doing those circles before, and what also works is just rolling that muscle, like a little pinch and roll. And when you feel that spot where the pain kind of radiates away from it, that's a good indicator that you might have a trigger point there, and you can just hold that. You can do the rotation or the little rolling as well, but even just that gentle pressure is going to help to relieve and break down that trigger point or the knot that you might have there. And for this one right here, I have a little radiating, and I can actually feel it like up in the temporalis. And it's just really simple and nice. Give it a nice rub. And I recommend to people too, if you're standing in line at the grocery store, which we don't do as much anymore, I feel like there's not as bad of lines as there used to be. It's a great time. You just grip on, give it a little pinch, and give yourself a little anxiety relief. You could do both sides. Pinching into that muscle. Little circles, rolling. Working your way down. It's kind of nice to hang out and get a feel. What is the sensation? Like when you're on a trigger point, the sensation to me is kind of like if you have brain freeze, or like if you're like sucking on an ice cube. And then if you're just on a regular tight muscle, just that touch and deep tissue, like kind of friction there, feels really soothing. Feels like releasing, or like if you have like a rock in your shoe and you finally get to take it out. But kind of think for yourself, what does it feel like? Is it relief? Is it, itching a scratch? What is the sensation for you? I'm always interested. Awesome. So you can spend as much time doing that, like I was saying, 30 to 90 seconds in each of those really tender spots is a really great way to do that. And then something that I think is fun, I have a little bit more lotion here, where we were in that origin, down here in the clavicle and the sternum, I think it's really nice if you follow the clavicle right till about where it ends, not on your throat, because that would feel like choking, but just right to the top of the head there, and then drop right underneath the clavicle. You'll be in between the clavicle and that first rib. And I just do these little circles and play with counterclockwise, clockwise, and just pretty good pressure here. I would say about like a three or four probably is good, with a little oil or lotion. You can do it without as well. This is a good spot. I think it might even be a lung spot in traditional Chinese medicine, but it's a really great spot for being able to take nice deep breaths. And when you're ready, we're going to move right into the manubrium, so the top of our sternum. And this is a great anxiety reliever as well. We're going to do little circles. You can use 1 finger, 2, 3. I kind of like to do 3 with my middle finger as like the strongest point of contact. And I just do little circles. And after about 5 rotations, I move my way down. And it's interesting, as you're moving your way down the sternum, you might find like a really tender spot. This is where a lot of muscles are attaching into this point. And so it can actually get really tender, especially as women. We tend to protect and kind of constrict this area. We're not doing a lot that's opening and especially applying pressure here. And I think it's really important to note that it's important that any part of our body shouldn't be like painful when we touch it. So if you have like a real like pain sensation or kind of a zing when you touch on any of your muscles, it's a good indicator if it's like a muscle pain that there's a little constriction or stagnation there. So it's always nice to give that a little rub and just working your way back up. I'm talking the whole time, but if you're doing this, it's really nice to like take deep breaths, maybe do like a nice inhale and exhale for every spot, and then do it again as you move down. And honestly, if you find yourself in a really stressful situation and you can take 45 seconds for yourself and you just give yourself little taps down the sternum, on top of those little circles, deep friction circles, you should be able to go back into any situation and make clear thoughts from a centered place, which is a really nice way of using body work. Obviously, it feels great to get a massage or to give yourself a little self-care in the form of a massage, but the benefits go on from there immensely, which is an amazing part of that. When you take care of yourself, you're able to approach situations in your life with so much more clear-headedness and intention, which is great. So that's our little massage and palpation. For the activation of this muscle, it's really simple, especially if that did feel tender and you know you want to do a little bit more activation and start to like bring more energy and blood flow to that area. And it's really simple. You just look to your left, take a nice deep breath in, exhale, inhaling back to center, continuing to your right, exhale, center to your left, taking a nice deep breath in and out. Back to center and right. Nice breath in and out. And as I'm doing this, I notice, oh, my shoulders have been rounding forward. So it's a great way to just check in with your body. Find out those little places where your posture has been taking a hit, because these muscles are tight, and like we know, they pull the neck down. So as we're releasing and opening it up, you might be able to roll your shoulders back, let your scapula come closer together, your shoulder blades coming back together on the back side of your body. Back to center. Let's do one more on our right side here. Yeah, so that's a really great way of activating that muscle. So we were able to feel it, give it a nice little massage, work on that origin of the muscle as well, and just find little ways to bring blood flow, because lack of use or overuse. So another big thing, right? If this muscle is being used a lot, what good is it to activate it? Well, the great thing is when you activate or contract a muscle with intention, it'll better program for you how to relax and release that muscle, because you actually are feeling, what does it feel like to use and relax these muscles? And now you have more awareness of what's actually happening when you turn your head to the side or if you flex the neck. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. And every Monday I'm going to go over another muscle. If you have a muscle that sticks out to you that you've always like heard about, or you've injured in the past and you don't really know what it does or what it feels like, let me know. And eventually, hopefully, I'll cover all of the muscles that we can see and feel within reason.